Bakker, naturopath. Thank you for coming back. Probiotics. We've all heard about them. We all talk about them. I've been talking about them likely a lot longer than you guys have been talking about them. I've been talking about probiotics now probably since my 20s, which is what, nearly 40 years ago. I started telling people that they should be looking at probiotics for their gut. I can remember back in the 80s, probiotics were available, but not that common. And people didn't really take probiotics. They took them every now and then if they had an antibiotic, you know, and then only like the diehards or like the natural people would take them, because the average mainstream person thought that they were a load of crap. They thought that, why would you consume bacteria for when bacteria make you sick? Back when I was a teenager, people still actually had that belief that bacteria had no benefit or limited benefit from the body, that they were mainly pathogenic. Because remember, it wasn't all that long ago, well, 60, 70 years ago, where scientists actually didn't believe that there were beneficial bacteria. And these were scientists. I mean, come on, get off the grass. All right, now we know different. Now we know that the bacteria have incredibly powerful effects on our health, because science has validated stuff that people like me have known for decades. It's all coming out in the wash now, isn't it? Let's look at the 10 reasons or signs why probiotics are such an important and powerful dietary supplement for someone like you, just sitting there right now watching this video. So I'm going to go over a couple of keynotes, some signs and symptoms initially, and discuss that, and then we'll go a bit further into it. So probably the key symptom, what people would think a probiotic for, would be a symptom like bloating. Okay, bloating generally infers that you've got poor fermentation going on in your intestines. It means that bad bacteria are gobbling up carbohydrates and creating gas. Often it's really bad, especially if it's a foul-smelling gas. Okay, so we call that dysbiosis or fermentation dysbiosis. You know, dys meaning bad, biosis bad life, fermentable bad life. So farting, gas, these are quite normal. So bloating, or this is what I hear commonly a lot of people talk about, is bloating. So bloating is a surefire sign that likely a probiotic is going to work for you, either now or at some stage during your recovery from this, you know, this bloating. The second one is gas. Now, gas is not funny. Lots of guys might laugh, you know, and say things like pull my finger and things like that, okay? But gas can be very, very painful and highly embarrassing too. I've had many patients over the years who are really worried about the gas because of, you know, job interviews or going for a driving test, or I've had an airline pilot with excessive gas who was really embarrassed, and I've seen just about any kind of profession you can imagine. I've seen people with bloating and gas, and they talk about how embarrassing it is and how comfortable it is and how painful it is and all these sorts of things. So gas, especially if it's incarcerated, or, you know, incarcerated, gas in prison, or imagine gas in prison inside you, putting pressure on different nerves, it can really create pain. And not to mention the embarrassment if you've got Auntie Mary over there and this huge big farting noise occurs all of a sudden out of nowhere, you know. So it may seem funny, but gas is a clear sign, in my opinion, of a carbohydrate problem with a person. My dad was a typical example who would eat 15 or 20 cookies in one sitting and then fart like a horse for the remaining of the evening, and then wonder what the hell was going on with his digestive system. I mean, come on. So bloating and gas, these are two like key line, or I should say keynote symptoms, meaning dysbiosis or bad bacterial problem often. We could also get a candida problem with bloating and gas. It doesn't have to be bacteria. Many stool samples I've seen have shown high amounts of candida with gas as well. So the other two, so we mentioned bloating, we mentioned gas, now we're going to mention diarrhea and then constipation. So having very loose bowels or having very firm bowels, often a probiotic can have a tremendously good effect on this, okay? Especially if there's some enzymes with it, which we'll talk about later. So if you've got diarrhea, especially traveler's diarrhea, you've been overseas, or you've picked up a food poisoning or something like that, think about Saccharomyces boulardii, SB, or Saccharomyces. This is often very good for traveler's diarrhea. It's quite a good beneficial yeast that will help, you know, set your bowel right. It's often good to take some Saccharomyces boulardii or SB with you if you go to, you know, a country like the Caribbean or Asia, or where you're not quite sure about food handling or things like that. So Diarrhea can be fixed up really quickly, and the key thing again is you need to make the diet changes and get the gut calm and settle down, and be sure that you've got adequate water intake, because you'll lose quite a lot if you've got a lot of diarrhea. Constipation, I've made many videos about constipation. Again, lactobacillus often help constipation. I find a good lactobacillus supplement. So something with bifidobacteria and lactobacillus, or the two big groups of bacteria, will generally aid constipation. Chewing is the thing that you need to look for. Chewing means better pooing. We talked about that. Vaginal yeast infections, okay? Very common to have a vaginal yeast infection if you are in need of a probiotic. So probiotics work very well with many women I've experienced. If they have a yeast infection down there, it can help quite a lot. Guys with seriously bad jockage also benefit from probiotics. All right? These help to bolster up and boost up your immune system. Probiotics definitely have an effect on the secretory IgA. So if you can ramp up the IgA and push up your gut immune response, you're in a better position to eradicate a yeast infection. All right? So you've had an antibiotic. Having an antibiotic definitely means that it's a smart idea to take a probiotic. So I just had a look at an interesting webpage called The 5 Reasons Why You Need a Probiotic. And these damn fools are actually saying that in some instances, you may need to take an antibiotic or an antimicrobial, to clean up the gut, to get rid of the bloating. I mean, how dumb is that? And then they recommend a probiotic after. Best if you can avoid antibiotics entirely, unless you've got a life-threatening disease. I don't recommend you take them. To me, taking an antibiotic is like walking around with a couple of loaded handguns in your pocket. You never know when they're going to go off or create serious, damage. So I'd be very careful with antibiotics going forward, people. I've seen too much carnage caused because of those drugs. Another one, I think this is point number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 now. You consume chicken containing antibiotics, right? So many people I've seen can't understand why their microbiome is so sparse, why there's not much there. And a question, which I will often ask them is, do you eat chicken from the supermarket? Because it may not contain growth hormones, but it could be laced with antibiotics. All right? Unless you're eating free-range chicken, be careful, because the eggs and the poultry meat itself could contain traces or residual antibiotics. This is another reason why I like you to filter your water if you're living in America, especially cities like LA or New York. Okay? Traces of antibiotics have been found in the municipal tap water, along with Prozac, psychiatric drugs, and a whole cocktail of crap you don't want to know about. So if you're drinking main town water supply in the biggest cities in US, but in some other cities perhaps around the world, maybe not the EU region, because I think the standards might be different, you want to get a reverse osmosis water purifier to filter your water and get residues of drugs, pharma drugs, out of there. Okay, it's not a good idea. I know you're not keen on taking drugs if you're watching this, but you may not be aware that you're taking pharmaceutical medications in through tap water. Okay? Time magazine published a great article on it years ago about all the hundreds of pharmaceutical drugs found in the New York tap water. Point number 8, if you have IBS or IBD, so if you have irritable bowel syndrome or inflammatory bowel disease, you almost certainly want to take probiotics on a regular basis. My recommendation, if you've got IBS, IBD, is to do a stool test first, determine your level of beneficial bacteria, and then start taking probiotics to see if you can crank that up to at least a 3 or 4 plus. You want a high plus beneficial count with a bowel problem like this, because it's going to really make your gut more comfortable. Okay, stop you needing stupid drugs like steroids or crap like that. Okay, what was the next one? Point 9, you take digestive enzymes already, but you still need more GI support. Many people take enzymes, but they don't understand that enzymes and probiotics are a perfect fit. They go well together. Okay, they go really well together. Think about 2 things in your life that go well together. Maybe it's French fries with salt. Maybe it's a nice glass of wine with a piece of cheese and a cracker. Maybe it's going with your partner on the ideal holiday. I mean, that could be a perfect combination too. Or a divorce party, or whatever kind of party you want. But the point I'm making is often 2 things go well together. And digestive enzymes and probiotics blend very well together. especially if you have gas, bloating, farting, all those kinds of symptoms. The enzymes, as I mentioned in many videos, will help to facilitate the breakdown of the carbohydrates, particularly, especially if you get the smaller specialty enzymes in your supplement. And then the probiotics are going to help to ferment that better. So you're going to have more digestive comfort by including those two things together. Right? And the last point is you travel. So when you travel, I feel anyone who goes long haul would be very, very wise to take a probiotic on the other end, especially if they've got any of these types of problems, any type of gut problem, any type of autoimmune disease, any type of chronic illness. The gut needs maximum support. Now, travel is high stress, so if you can support the gut with a product with some enzymes and probiotics on the other end when you get there, I really believe it's going to help you overcome your jet lag faster, give you more digestive comfort when you're at your destination, and it's going to prevent you from sliding into constipation or diarrhea, based on a new lifestyle, diet and stresses, for example. So I hope that gives you a bit of information on my sort of thoughts about why you would need probiotics and some of the reasons why. All right. Don't forget to click on the link in the description box if you want the free PDF. Thanks for tuning in.